Welcome back to the podcast, Ghouls and Goyles.
Who is that?
A warning before we start. The contents of this program might terrify and excite and entertain your senses, but it is not for those below the age of 18. If you listen to this podcast, you are doing so of your own volition.
Viewer
Enter
discretion advised.
at your own risk.
I'm
Your
keeping that
discretion
in.
is advised. Ooh. Fine.
Anyway, welcome back to the podcast, everybody. My name is Bree.
I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Josh.
Today we're doing just a quick little movie review. We're just gonna do it. Should we say anything about Isaac being gone?
He's not here right now. He has some personal stuff. He can't make it, and it's nobody's business.
And that's why we got Josh here.
I'm just stepping in to fill in the seat.
Oh, to keep the seat warm.
Keeping the
Anyway,
seat warm.
so the movie that we watched was Hereditary, and that was done in 2018, and it was written and directed by Ari Aster, and apparently this is his feature film directorial, it's a debut.
Directorial.
Whatever. So we watched it, and now we're going to talk about it. Who wants to go first?
Well, Kelsey, since this was kind of your recommendation, why don't you take the lead?
Okay. Well, so Hereditary is about a family whose grandmother just died. I don't remember what she died of, but I do remember dementia being mentioned. And it's literally just technically about a family falling apart, but also like with some satanic cult shit and beheadings and Toni Collette, who deserved an Oscar. I'm not over that. I'm not over the fact that she wasn't even nominated for this movie when she gave like a stellar, beautiful, perfect performance.
It really was flawless.
So good.
She was a star.
And Peter, the son, he was good too. I'm like,
No, he was incredible. I mean, I felt like the cast honestly just delivered a great like ensemble performance. Like not one of them was like missing a beat. Everyone bounced off of each other really well. It felt like you were actually watching a family tear itself apart and like voyeuristically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I was gonna say, and I should mention that this was not our first pick. We were technically supposed to watch two other movies. One was a conspiracy theory documentary that nobody could
kind of
finish.
like a mega documentary. Like it had almost like every conspiracy theory you might not have heard of was just like all in one 3-hour ramble.
I made it 17 minutes.
I made it 45.
I watched the whole thing.
And then the other movie that we picked, like we couldn't find it anywhere on streaming sites to recommend to you guys, so we settled with this one.
So
I had it on
Hereditary.
DVD. Like I couldn't obviously share it because Isaac doesn't live where we live. So
Yeah. So okay, I guess like the big basic question is like, did you guys like it?
this is my second time watching it, so yeah.
This is my third time watching it, and I have to say I love it more each time I watch it, which is pretty rare for me. There's only a few movies like that for me.
Yeah.
Ari Aster is one of those people, like he only has 2 movies out, and that's Hereditary and Midsommar, but both of those movies are movies that you need to watch like more than once to like thoroughly enjoy them.
Well, I feel like Midsommar is a lot more direct. Like, I feel like it's not as subtle. There's not as many layers. He definitely had more of like a focus in Midsommar.
But you still need to watch it again, especially
when
you still need to
watch. Yeah. It's a beautiful piece. It's a beautiful piece.
Also has to do with the cult. So that's not a spoiler. That's in the trailer.
Yeah.
But this movie, I'm gonna just be honest, like, it's not for everyone. There's a reason, like, why when it came out it was divisive. It was only in our theater for, like, I think a week, and then they got rid of it. Because we live in a small-ish town, and like we're more likely to get some stupid like Christian like contemporary film than we are like a horror movie. So, and when we do get them, they don't really last very long, and this one definitely didn't. But it's disturbing. Like obviously, trigger warnings for like anything that you could possibly just be disturbed by. I
Trigger
think
warnings for body horror, possession,
kids
nudity.
getting hurt.
Yeah, lots of fucked up shit happens in this movie.
Yeah, emotional abuse from parents.
Yeah, so if any of those topics might be triggering for you or upsetting for you, this might be a great episode to miss.
Just like sit down.
Okay, so again, I am on the other side of the spectrum here. It wasn't scary for me. It was barely unsettling. I was, I guess, emotionally involved in it until the fucking wall crawl scene. Like oh my, no, hold the phone. Okay, listen. I watched this movie at 10:30 at night. I had every single light off. I even had my extra monitor turned off. I had everything shut down. I had headphones on, and I was bored most of it.
I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah, seriously. You never like anything.
I know, and
she really does not like any of the movies we like.
I don't understand. But I mean, I took notes. I was paying attention. But it was that fucking wall scene where I finally paused the movie, and I was just like,
wait. Can I ask? Like, I need to know, how is it boring when there's shit going on literally the entire time?
In every scene, there's something happening.
There was stuff going on. I mean, I gotta show you guys my notes. I was taking notes the whole time.
This is just gonna be us arguing with you. Like,
I know, that's fine.
Why don't you like it? Why?
I don't know. It was just, I mean, I'm not gonna say anything negative about the acting, because the actors themselves did a fantastic job in conveying the characters' emotions and the plight that they were having with everything. The director was doing a fantastic job in showing like how people grieve over a lost one and everything. It was fantastic with that, but it was just, I don't know. I guess I was more confused than anything, and this could be because I've only seen it the one time.
Yeah, you need to watch it again.
And
look for things. And I think you'd like it. I thought you would really love like the opening shot where we're like panning into the dollhouse.
See, that was the other thing. I loved the camera shots in this. Like they did so many like unique positions and everything. Like my favorite one is when she was walking down the hallway. I think it was when she was going to the apartments or whatnot, and they did the camera shot at the top of the ceiling. So when she's originally coming down the hallway, she's upside down, and then it just kind of flips over to where she's finally approaching the creepy touchy woman, and that was so fucking phenomenal. Like I loved that. I loved the camera shots on it. I think I don't know if I was missing things, because I did and did like a Wikipedia research, because like at the end of the movie I was like, what the fuck happened? Like what?
You have to watch it again. Like trust me. Like trust me when I say it's a movie that you have to watch like 2 to 3 times. I liked it the first time because like I just the scene where her like she's using the piano wire to like cut her head off, that was just like, I'm sold.
I have thoughts and feelings about that scene.
That scene, the ending. I mean, other than the guy that played Peter, not Peter, Steve. No, it was Peter. Steve was the dad.
The boy is Peter. The dad is Steve.
The guy that played Peter, he did so fantastic at the end. Like that, the last like 20-25 minutes of the movie was possibly the most exciting for me. Other than the scene where Charlie, died. Those 2 scenes were mwah. All the other ones I was just like, I really like, I know there's something going on. I recognize the symbology and everything. But it just, I don't know, it didn't hit me right.
So can I ask you a question then?
Absolutely.
So like I don't know if Kelsey would agree with me on this, but I would classify Hereditary more of like a horror auteur type of film.
Yeah.
Meaning like it's not going to be giving you like terrifying jump scares all the time. It's more of like a tiny ball that just keeps rolling and getting a little bit bigger and a little bit
Kind of
bigger.
like with The Shining, it's just little things that keep like piling up,
Yeah,
And
it's the tension. It's the
yeah, and
tension of the movie
I
that like makes it uncomfortable to watch.
and
Yeah.
I
Like
could
for
I could
example,
see
like
that.
one of my favorite scenes was right after Charlie gets and then I don't know how to like am I allowed to describe it in like what happens, or is that like a major spoiler?
Spoilers.
Well, they're
Yeah?
already listening to this. They already know.
Yeah.
Okay, so the what happens is, there's a teenage party and the kids go to the party, and Charlie unfortunately has an allergic reaction to something that she ingests.
Nuts.
And so they're rushing her to help, and she sticks her head out the window, and it gets
Decapitated. She gets decapitated
okay,
by
she
a
okay.
gets
light pole.
It's
by a telephone pole.
And that's
Yeah.
because
So
he was swerving because there was a dead deer in the way. So, like, he was
yeah.
rushing, he was speeding and everything, lost control after he saw the animal on the ground. Which, by the way, I did not know was a fucking deer until I read the Wikipedia. Like, and I saw that animal
Really?
twice. Yeah, I did not know. I was like, what the fuck is that? And then I, like, wrote it down. I was like, dead animal, what the hell? And then, like, there was another one, like, towards the end where he's, like, following his headless mom. And I was like, what the fuck is this animal and what does it mean? Like, what is this? Why is it a deer? But no.
So when Charlie gets decapitated by the telephone pole, the brother stops and
Yeah.
is just like, this did not happen, and drives home and just leaves her body in the car and just goes to bed and lays on his bed with his eyes open, waiting for his family to discover the body in the front, like in the back seat of the car in the front yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was the tension that started at the party, from her eating the nuts to rushing to the swerving to the beheading, and then just sitting and then like waiting for like that kind of build up, that even though there's this like giant moment, like I would say like 20 minutes into the film, 25 minutes into the film, there's this giant like climactic moment, and it's like it's not even really the punchline of the arc that it's in.
Yeah.
Like the terror, like I mean, because we've all been there, like we've all done a mistake or something, and we're just like, that didn't happen, I'm just gonna go to bed, and then we wake up and that thing that we did is like still there.
Yeah. That scene,
like we've all experienced that kind of, like, we can all relate to that, but then amplify that, but by like, the worst thing that we could do as a child of our parents, which is like, to be responsible for the death of their other child.
Which I have like another little theory on that, but I'm gonna let this happen first.
Yeah, that scene was one of the other beautifully shot ones. I loved the kind of tension and whatnot that was going on, and then when she got decapitated, and I noticed that you automatically didn't get to see her. Like for most horror films, is you always get to see, the head rolling across the ground or the body parts flying off and everything. And for this one, like, all you got was you seen the impact and then seen him slam on the brakes and then him just staring off. You see one tear roll down, and he goes to look in the mirror, and then like it shows him like looking, like tracking his eyes, and then before it hits where he can see, automatically like he just looks away, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So that was a wonderfully shot moment.
Yeah, and just speeding away. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then but I actually have in my notes, it's kind of funny, I have it written 4 times, goddamn slow burn movie.
It is a slow burn. No, that's what I love about it, because we rarely get like I don't want to sound like a fucking like brainy nerd snob
Go
elite
ahead. That's
person,
usually me,
but
so do
like
it.
I would love for there to be more like horror auteur that's actually good and terrifying. You know, like that
Yeah.
has both, like it can be highbrow and also have elements of terror and talk about different social topics at the same time. Like, it I mean, I feel like we all can agree we pretty much filled humanity's cheesy horror quota
Mm-hmm.
from the 90s to the 2000s.
Yeah.
Like
80s, the 2000s. Let's be
I
real.
hey, there's some great
There's
stuff
some
in the
good ones in the 80s,
80s.
yes, but the cheese started really
Yeah.
in like the 80s, and there's lots of cheese in the 50s too, but like,
Yeah. But in the 50s
yeah.
they were literally not allowed to do
My
basically
yeah,
anything.
my issue like I like that. See, I personally love slow burn horror. Like obviously, The Shining is my favorite horror movie. Like that's pretty fucking slow burn. And I
Mm-hmm.
love movies like The Witch and Midsummer that are all. That's the one of the great things about the 2010s was that we started getting serious auteur slow burn horror movies finally instead of found footage garbage, torture porn
Oh,
and just boring slashers where you literally don't give a shit about anyone that's getting murdered because it's
yeah.
literally just become about the gore and like
There's
honestly I don't give a
it's a
fuck.
Yeah.
bloodbath. It's you have no connection to any of the characters, and usually there's not even a main character. It's just kind of like an ensemble cast, and
Yep.
everybody gets their 15 minutes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
And it's usually 15 minutes of them dying. So
yeah, I mean, I'll agree. Like I'm not one for like the super gory movies because they get boring over a while because you see the same patterns all the time, and that
Cliche
it,
stuff. Yeah.
it's frustrating sometimes. But I like the really like messed up psychological horrors, the ones that make you second guess things. Like
Yeah.
that's the stuff I like. But I have a hard time with slow burn because I'm sitting here trying to piece together, trying to figure out like what's going on, like what do I need to pay attention to, like what are the clues, and trying to like make it all work until I get that final piece that's like,
the
ta-da!
answer
I
is
get
literally
it.
everything. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
everything
did
in every
it.
scene has
For
something to
Hereditary,
be.
And
like
then like for
yeah.
Hereditary, like I was doing the thing, I was just like looking at everything. I was watching the camera shots. I was looking at the design and everything, and it was just like I don't quite understand what's going on. Like, and the fact that I couldn't understand, like I mean I understood that there was a demon involved. I knew that there was like a cult and everything, especially after I saw the necklace at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I was like, why make that such an important camera shot if that's not going to be like part of the movie? Like, there's a point as to why you showed that, and now it's a reoccurring theme. So, duh, fucking cult. And then, like, right when she met Joanne, by the way, I fucking hated Joanne. I hated her, not because she was a terrible character, not because, like, her actress or whatnot. I hated how touchy she was.
I was gonna say do not insult Ann Dowd right now because she's
No.
Anna
It
Lydia.
was literally like every time like she would do something, she was always touching. And I was trying to like picture myself in that moment. And if somebody was constantly
No,
touching
I
me, I'd be
get
like, nah, get the
exactly what
fuck
you're
away.
saying. I don't like it when people who I don't know very well touch me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that like ugh, I didn't like that. I didn't like her. And then like I just like I said, it's probably because I've only seen the movie once and I was missing some key clues, but it made it really hard for me to follow the story because I felt like they had a lot of information that they were trying to spread out, but it was
Mhm.
very thin, like they spread it out way too thin. So I was having a hard time connecting the dots. That's what it felt like to me.
Well, then, yeah, I would suggest that like you watch it again because it's definitely one of those movies. Like an example would
I
be like
feel
on
like
The
you would
Witch.
really not
Josh has
enjoy The
watched.
Witch then. Because the first time I watched The Witch, I thought it was too much of a slow burn, and I didn't really enjoy it until the second time I watched it.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing movie. It's my favorite movie of the 2010s, The Witch. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna make you watch it at some point.
I
You might not.
I did
You might not.
there was this one thing and it's so like off topic and everything sort of for this, but
Hmm.
I loved, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, I loved Peter's bedhead.
Oh my god.
I know it's the stupidest thing ever, but I loved, because it did give a feel like he was laying there for a while. I mean, there was that one scene towards the end and everything, and I think this was like when he was listening to the tongue pop and he woke up. And you just see like his fucking curls just sticking straight up. And you don't get that unless you've been laying there for a while. So it's like, oh, you know, that I get that, but oh my god, that stupid fucking wall crawl scene.
The attention to detail in this movie was honestly gorgeous.
It was.
Really was.
It was really good. But that wall crawl, oh my god, I didn't understand it. I didn't get it. I didn't get it.
Kelsey, you were mentioning your theory, which I have a feeling is going to be very similar to what I believe the movie is also about.
I think this movie is an allegory for transness. I think this is a story of Charlie coming out as trans. Because, like literally...
As Peter. Yeah.
As Peter, yes. Because literally think about it. Her grandma dies, right? And then she talks to her mom and she's like, who's going to take care of me now? Because her grandma was one of the people that was like, you can be a tomboy and you can do this or whatever, and like treats her like a boy. Yeah. And then like, bam, she dies. And then Peter comes home and he's just waiting for them to discover the body, which is like similar to like, you know, parents finding out that their kid is no longer identifying in the way that they thought they were.
It is a death. It's like a death for them.
Yeah, it's literally a death. And just like, I feel like, and Nick Spears did an incredible video about this on her YouTube channel. Like, I totally agree.
Everybody should go check out her channel because it is honestly amazing.
But she was literally saying, like, this is the story, because the story is literally told in the dollhouse, so it's told from Toni Collette's perspective. This is her way of telling the story of her family falling apart because her daughter is actually her son, Peter. She's transitioning to, like, it's a trans story. You cannot change my mind that this is a story about somebody being trans.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially when, like, during that conversation of, like, who's going to take care of me, she's like, Grandma wanted me to be a boy.
Yeah, and I do really love that this is kind of happening to an upper middle class family, because, I mean, not that I'm around that a lot, but I have experience with certain types of people from that community, and there is a certain demographic of mothers that cast themselves into this role that if everything in their children's lives isn't going 100% of the way that they envisioned their lives going, then that means that they are being victimized.
Yep.
And I think that this is her way of communicating. No, I'm not the bad guy. See?
They're gaslighting me. They're the ones that are the bad guys.
I just want my daughter back.
Yeah.
I just want my daughter back.
And I love that this was written and directed by a cisgender male director, and it was done so, like, thoughtfully, because I honestly do think this was meant to be, like, kind of an allegory for transness, and the way that, if that is true, the way he did that is just, like, brava.
Well,
and not only that, but, like, I mean, we can't ignore the other aspect of this film that's a little less subtle, which is talking about disabilities.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And how, like, she was almost frustrated that her daughter's disabilities weren't ones that were easily explainable.
Yeah.
You know, like, with her fascination with dead things and, like, being a tomboy and, you know, like, it wasn't enough of a punishment for her to just have a mentally disabled child, but also to have one that was weird.
Was she mentally disabled?
Yeah.
Did I know?
I don't know if it was ever really said outright,
well,
but it was definitely
heavily implied.
Implied.
Because her classroom was a special education classroom.
Yeah.
The way that they were chatting with her and everything too, like, I mean, I see it at work sometimes. So, like, automatically, like, I knew she was disabled. And then she had those tics. Like, the tongue clicking and everything. Like, that was a tic for her, and her drawing was a tic.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
she was. But the other thing I wanted to point this out, and it really supports the trans theory. The one thing that I really noticed about the whole movie is that when Peter, whenever he had a breakdown, it wasn't like the normal like teenage boy breakdown. It was, like normally like when teenage boys they cry, they like do it really quietly, or it's like really like deep and grumbly. And when I was listening to
Oh, honey,
him,
not me, honey.
I know, but that
Oh,
was the thing.
honey.
But whenever he cried, it was very high
It was
pitched. It was
it
very
was loud. It was in your face. He wanted you to know that you hurt
exactly.
his feelings.
And
Oh,
then
I
like
could
when he was
identify so much with Peter
and
as
then
a
like the
character.
other
I
part
really
too.
could.
The other part too is when they were under the stairs and he was with his friends and they were smoking. And this kind of
Hmm.
like struck me as odd a little bit because they kind of cut right after he said it. He asked for one of the guys to hold his hand while he cried. And I was like, what? I mean, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying like you're not supposed to do that. But normally in media, even when guys cry, they never ask to hold hands.
Molly.
So I can absolutely see this being like a trans movie, like 100%.
Or at least a queer, heavily queer subtext movie in terms of like the teenager and his dynamic with his parents.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely for that too. The other thing though, I want to ask you guys' opinion on this because I didn't see very much information on this.
Hmm.
What the fuck was the point of the sleepwalking?
I don't know.
I mean, it could have been a symbol because since it is her perspective that we are seeing this piece from, it could just be a sense of not being in control of yourself, of your surroundings, like where you are.
Okay.
It's also a way
Um,
for her
it
to
could be,
excuse like any bad behavior that she may have committed and that she
yeah,
can't like
like, oh,
overlook,
well,
right?
I wasn't even in
I wasn't
control of
myself.
myself.
Like with the
Yeah,
lighter fluid, with the paint thinner thing, she was like, he never forgave me. Like he was like obligated to forgive her for
yeah.
trying to
Yeah, and
set him on fire.
I understood like when they showed it. I just didn't really understand like why they had to add it because they placed so much emphasis on the sleepwalking,
Well,
but it
because
didn't
this
really
is
play
from
a
her.
part.
But this is from her perspective because, see, if you sympathize with her, if you already see, oh, she does things that are kind of cuckoo wackadoo, you're not going to think of her as, oh, maybe she was kind of like set all of this in motion because the second half of the film is completely her actions.
Yeah.
She's the one who, tries to find the spells and whatnot and wakes her family up in the middle of the night to call back the spirit of her daughter back because all she wants is just for her daughter to come back.
Yeah.
This is like that was like some version of like conversion therapy or something. That's what I
Yeah,
got from that scene.
absolutely. Absolutely. So I feel like if we already sympathize with her or see her as a person who's like, oh, I can't help what I do sometimes,
Yeah.
it kind of like makes her seem less responsible
Oh,
for
so it was kind
her
of like
actions.
it was a one of her excuses.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, so
it's
it was an
her
excuse.
artistically because you have to remember each new scene starts with one of her like miniature sets.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So each scene is being presented to us through her art. So even her representation is a version of herself that she created.
Yeah.
So that's why, I almost have to like take everything that she says with a grain of salt because,
Yeah.
you know,
No accountability was taken by that character
Mm-mm.
at all.
yeah.
Never trust a crazy lady that's grieving. Never.
Well, like in terms of like, for example, the son was also grieving
Yeah.
and seeking forgiveness and, like forgiveness for something that, I mean, honestly, was not something he could control.
No.
Yep.
It wasn't like he had malicious intent to it.
Exactly.
He didn't even like it wasn't even like an off thought. It was, oh shit, my
It
sister
was
is going into
literally Charlie
anaphylactic
had to
shock.
die so that Peter could live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so that Peter could become, and I mean, like, the whole demonic thing, which has such a religious undertone to it, or this movie is just like very much relatable to me.
Can I just say that like I grew up thinking that Payman was a real thing because that he's like one of the like the like the one of the nine like demon rulers of hell.
8.
Like that's something that's in Christian. Yeah,
I looked it up because I finally
or
got the
eight.
name of the demon and I
And
was like,
so
what?
and so
I mean,
like
it
in
existed before
religion,
Christianity, but we stole it. So
yeah, I mean, like there is a lot of like people, especially from like my parents' religious background, who believe that like LGBTQIA individuals are possessed by demons and that's why they are like that. So in the final scene, when she presents like her dead body, the dead body of herself and her mother and her daughter, and shows her son being crowned by these crazy people in her representation of her art, and while he is also possessed by a hell ruling demon.
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't
So,
know that the head on top of the mannequin was Charlie's head either until I read the Wikipedia.
oh
yeah,
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 because I was
no,
like, who is that? Is that the grandma? Is that why her head's missing? And then, like, I read the Wikipedia because I was like, what the fuck
yeah,
happened? And I was like, oh, that was Charlie's head.
yeah,
Oh, that makes sense a little bit.
yeah. And
yeah.
so, and I feel like there's also a lot of supporting evidence for this because of the animosity, even at the eulogy that she was giving at her mother's funeral, where she was like, my mother was a very private person and didn't like people, so I don't know why any of you are here. She'd probably be suspicious because I am.
Right?
And I like also that she had this notion that her mother filled her brother's head full of ideas and that caused him to kill himself. So I feel like the analogy of the mother's, headless body in the attic is like, well, the head on the corpse is missing because it was all the thought from that head was already filled into the daughter, which was also dead.
Oh, I thought the whole reason for the headless stuff was because when she was going through her mom's stuff and she found that book on the demon, like he was writing, what was it, a camel, and he had like a bunch of
Oh
just
yeah, he used
heads
to
and
take
everything.
heads. He used to take heads as like a sacrifice from his cult followers.
Yeah, and that's what I
Oh,
thought was
Yeah,
the headless thing came from because I questioned that too. I was like, why is everybody headless? Why is everybody like why do I see
Payman
dick
likes
all the
heads,
time?
man.
And
yeah.
then I was like thinking about it and I was like, "Oh wait, that's right. Like they showed the picture of him riding on the camel and he had like 3 heads in his hand or something like that." So I was
That's
like,
very
"Oh,
true. That's
okay."
very true. Yeah.
But I mean, I can understand the symbology that you're
Yeah.
discussing with
Well,
it.
and like, we do know that artists and directors and filmmakers in general like to use one scene to convey multiple messages at the same time.
Mhm. And I mean, that makes
Or at
sense.
least I would say like the directors and the artists that I like to consume like to do things like that, which I appreciate because I feel like, the more like I mean, art is so personal, right? Like we interpret the things that we see with our own brains. So, when you present your viewer with an opportunity to experience the same thing in slightly different ways, depending on how they're looking at the scene and what, mood they're in and what perspective they're analyzing this lens, what lens they're analyzing this art through, that they could get in different interpretation, you know, at different times.
Yeah.
Which I don't know, I really find that enjoyable.
Yeah.
Okay, I had one more question.
Okay.
What the fuck was up with the creepy dude?
Creepy dude.
Uh-huh. So there's this creepy dude. He showed up twice. The camera angle suggested that this guy was supposed to be important. So the first time we see him is actually during the funeral where Charlie goes and sees her grandmother, and I believe she saw the necklace and then she peeked over her shoulder and it was this like fucking bald dude like standing off to the side and he gave her like a
Oh,
creepy grin.
that's just a cult member.
Well,
You see them throughout. You see them sprinkled throughout the movie.
true, but this guy gets 2 significant camera shots.
Yeah.
And that's where I thought that he was supposed to like play a part, but he
No,
didn't
he's
like
just a
really get
cult dude.
a part and it was weird.
Yeah, no, it's just another cult member. Because like I said, you see them sprinkled throughout. I don't know how many times you see each person, but like you just they're everywhere.
Yeah, the first time
And
I
they
saw
come back.
him though, I actually honestly was thinking like perhaps like he molested Charlie because that was kind of, well, that was the vibe that I was given at the beginning, because like he just stands there, and this was before like we discovered the whole cult thing and everything. He just stands there and gives her like this really creepy grin, and it was just like, okay, what is your importance? Like, how are you gonna play through
He's
this?
just like, oh look, it's payment. Like he's
Yeah, I
excited.
got that after the end. It was just like,
Yeah, no,
what?
they all kind of like fetishize and worship the whole family, to be honest, like the
Yeah,
cult group.
Yeah, that was oof.
Like especially because like they all like strip themselves of clothing when they surround the house. So like all of these random people that got these weird close-up shots that seem to be for no reason. I think it was to convey this sense that like it's almost like a Rosemary's Baby-esque like conspiracy, like almost this whole community around them is working
against them.
towards this goal.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're essentially fucked. That was like the whole thing with Rosemary's Baby, is that Rosemary was
Yeah.
fucked because
So
everybody.
I mean there it would be, I don't think it's like doing the movie a disservice to say that there thematically there are lines that you could say parallel Rosemary's Baby.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's like the new generation of Rosemary's Baby, like certain people are saying, but I do think that there are certain things that they both have that kind of, I don't know, like you said,
Tied
they can.
together, or at least was
Yeah,
heavily influenced.
yeah. There's some.
Well, I mean, there's a really, I mean, I would say Hereditary is the perfect example of how to be inspired by a work of art without it being a ripoff.
Yeah,
Like this, Hereditary is very much its own movie. But I don't think it's like disrespectful or anything to say like, oh, there's definitely like homages to, Rosemary's Baby and a couple other horror movies.
yeah.
Um, in this film, and I think it was very respectfully done. This is how I would love to see people, be inspired by other works, because it was done originally and tastefully and kind of like added to the genre rather than just made more trash,
Yeah, yeah, it was good.
enriched
It was a
rather than oversaturated.
it was a very tasteful, well done, very well put together movie. Especially if you're into slow burns.
If you're into film in general, like if you're into like especially the technical aspects of
Oh, the
film,
technical
you're gonna
was
love the
so
shit out of
good.
this movie.
The technical was so good. Other
I
than that
And
fucking wall
honestly,
crossing.
it's just fun to watch. It's a fun watch.
I think it depends on the person.
Okay, like if you're a person
If you're
that
a film
likes to
buff, then it's a
feel
fun watch.
anxiety and like tension and uncomfortableness and terror, like if you're a person like that, this is an excellent fun time.
Yeah, and I think it should be noted, like, I think this needs to be noted with people, like, just because, like, the movie didn't have a happy ending or it wasn't, like, the best time you've ever had or something, it doesn't mean it's bad. Like, movies, art isn't always going to be there to make you feel good. That's not
Yeah,
art's only job. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. Like, stop expecting art to always make you feel good. That's my take on Ari Aster movies. Like, cause, well, no, Midsummer kind of made me happy. It had a happy ending.
The
Spoilers.
Witch also made you happy.
Which
The
has the
Witch
best
made me
happy
happy.
ending. Bite me.
Yeah.
Anyway, anybody else have any other thoughts?
Yeah, if you live in a family like that, then I would, recommend going no contact, because, you're awesome. And if you are trans, there are resources and communities that would love to help you in any way that they can.
Yeah.
And, I know it might be scary, but life is great and things really do get better. So, reach out, honestly.
Yeah, we'll try to leave links for like the Trans Lifeline and stuff like that for anybody who might,
Absolutely.
need those resources. So, thank you for listening. Make sure to follow us on Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, and hopefully soon Pandora. I'm working on that. And like I said, we're going to leave links to the Trans Lifeline and various other sources because, shit's still going on just because it's not trending in the news. doesn't mean it's not happening, and we're the type of podcast that's going to continue to talk about it, whether people like it or not. Anyways, I'm out.
Until next time, farewell, and remember to stay spooky, friends.
And wear a mask.
Adios!